So let's look at a simple example of how we can do a bit of debouncing. Okay. And let's delete all of this. So let's create a button which says on click, or let's put an ID, put a click here. And let's open up our preview for this. So we have this basic button which says click me now. Let's say window dot on load, or add even listener and say load. We can add a function to it, or callback saying that find the particular button. So document dot get element ID, and I'm going to say click. I'm going to say button dot add event listener, and I'm going to say click, and do something over here. Okay, so I'm going to say constant API call. Okay, and I'm going to say make API call neutral. So basically, I want to make an API call when I do this. Now, if I actually make this a console.log, so it's a little easier, it doesn't block your output. Now you can see that every time I click on it, it makes this API call. So I can debounce this. Debouncing is a way that you get deferred invocation, which means I don't want to make this API call till 1 second later, let's say. I want to delay it basically. So I can make a debouncer, which basically should remember if the debouncer is in, if the call is in motion already, or is already being called. So we need a Boolean for that. Okay. So what I can do is I can keep a variable called debouncing. I need to know some information. It could be a Boolean, it could be an ID, or we could keep an ID as well. Now, what this should return, so this is the debouncing variable, is what we keep inside our debouncer. So every instance of debouncer that we make, it'll have its own debouncing value. So we'll return a function which will basically do something about this. Now we will check. We will basically have to say set time mod, and I am basically going to invoke some function that we need. Okay, and we're going to say with some delay. So I can take the delay from our debouncer. So it's taking the delay, and we need to accept our function here. Okay, so I'm going to say some function, and let's apply and pass this with any arguments that it has. So let's accept a function also along with it. So what does the debouncer do? Debouncer accepts a function. It accepts the delay that you want, right? And then it will return a function which you can invoke at any point. So, but how do you make sure that it is basically debouncing? So let's store this return value in debouncing. Now we are saying the response of set timeout should be in debouncing. It should be stored in debouncing. So if a user clicks twice, and maybe you're still in that 1 second delay, you haven't crossed it. then you should cancel the previous request. So at this point, we can just say debouncing, and it is just an AND operator. So if it exists, then we will do a clear timeout and we will pass debouncing into it. Okay. So what we can say is function equals to debouncer, and I can pass the make API call, right? And I can say 1000 seconds or 1000 milliseconds. Now this I can pass over here as the callback, right? Because the return function of the debouncer is what we are going to give as the callback. Now I can directly write this over here, right? But this will work because the return value is a function. Now you can see I'm clicking on this many times, but it will only make this API call after a while. Because the set time mod, the previous set time mod is basically getting cancelled. So if I put a value, let's say let c equals to 0, and I just put in c plus here, right? You can see the number of times I'm actually clicking, but the number of times you're actually making the request is only once. So the debouncer will delay that call and make sure that you're only making that call after or only when the delay is happening. So this is how you can make your own simple debouncer function, which will make sure that your API call or whatever the function is delayed by some time. Okay, great. So